Hey guys, good evening. Well, for those of you that are familiar with the channel, you'll know that we have already done a 7-hour stint throughout the day with our long-haul mileage Monday flights in the fly-by-wire Airbus A320 Neo. But I got asked so many times, how about a flight on the new Megapack Airbus A330? And I thought, you know what, why not? We'll take a little look at the A320's older, bigger brother, shall we? So we're going to do a short flight tonight from Charles de Gaulle, Paris, up to London Heathrow, and I'm looking forward to seeing what this aircraft has to offer. Obviously, we are not on any VAT sim, we are not on any servers, just in case anything goes wrong. I don't like doing test flights when there's the potential to get in the way of other people. So we're just going to be on our own, but we are going to do everything right from the start. So I've already got a SimBrief flight plan all sorted. Let me just get rid of that timer. We don't need that anymore. So I've got the SimBrief flight plan all started. I'm going to load that up in a minute. If anybody is wanting a copy of that, bear with me, and I shall just copy that in here. So SimBrief flight plan coming your way. There it is. So you can download that. Now obviously, from what I expect, I'm going to have to load this in the old-fashioned way. We're not going to be able to link up the McDo like we do in the fly-by-wire. So I'm just going to click on load down here, and it's been a while since I've done it this way. So our latest download is, there we go. So hopefully that will just populate in now. And one of the things I do remember about doing this is, there we go, so everything's coded in. One of the things I do remember about doing this is you can't just select, if you want to start cold and dark at the gate, you can't just select the gate here. You just have to sort of find it and then select it from this drop down menu. If you didn't, then what would happen is this flight plan becomes all skew-whiffed and messed up. So let me just go ahead and set that. If we're flying from there, I don't want a mega long taxi, so let's see. We will pick a terminal. So gate X4 sounds good enough, doesn't it? Let's see if we can find it down here. That's going to be right down at the bottom. Gate. Oh, here we go. Oh, they're all small gates. Well, they're no good enough. They're no good to us, are they? What's the ramps like? Ramp 22. Let's have a look at some of those ramps instead, shall we? If not, we'll just pick a large one. But I do want to pick one at the north side of the field, otherwise we're going to be taxiing for as long as we're going to be flying this evening, and that's no fun for you guys. Because I don't want to actually pick... I don't want to click on here because it'll mess up the flight plan. As I say, let's try one of those. I just want a large gate. Gate Yankee Media, where's that? Okay, and you can see actually doing that, it's already moved the flight plan over to a different runway. Well, now that's 8 left. Do you know what happens if I do just select a gate number here? It can't be any worse than what's just happened. Well, there we go. So it has actually altered things a little bit. I'm not going to take that runway. I'm going to take the one that I originally planned, 9 right. So let's click fly. I will update the time as well. So I want to do this with live weather, but I want to do it in the daytime. So let's there we go. So let's close that and let's hit the fly button. Let's get loaded in and let's see what's happening. So good evening to every one of you that is in the chat. Looking forward to trying this out, and a special welcome of course to the Easyjetsimpilot members who are with me. And most of you, I think, have already done about 6 hours with me at some point today, haven't you? Long day for you, long day for me, but it's what we do and it's what we love. So looking forward to this. Now remember guys, if you're wanting to install this aircraft, you need to get rid of the fly-by-wire mod in your community folder. They are not compatible, not in any shape, size or form. So I've gone ahead and cleared that out and getting ready now to have a look at this aircraft. I don't know what my custom views will be like. They may be no longer eligible and working, but we shall see. The main purpose of this is to go right from the start, cold and dark, gate to gate, and try and do everything by the correct procedures. I'll basically be using my normal A320 procedures, which the Airbus family, they like having everything all the same. So the flight decks of the A330 and A340 are very similar to the A320. A340, of course, has 4 thrust levers, not 2. So looking forward to seeing how this handles. So let's just come up into the chat here as well, and pop that out, and I can see how you guys are all doing. So Ferran, is it possible to import the flight plan from SimBrief and implement them on flights in 2020 with the FPL file? Yes, it is. Yep. So that's all I've done, is downloaded the SimBrief flight plan and just uploaded that in there. HD popping in for a look on the A330. You ever flown an A330 HD? I'm going to be flying it like a 320, and if it goes wrong, I'll be flying it like a Cessna. So I don't expect at all to have all the functionality of the fly-by-wire mod, but this is another great little freeware aircraft that has now become available to us. HD, you've never flown one, don't ask you anything. Right, okay, that's a good start. Nick, I think HD has to put the ruler down tonight. We've no idea what we're doing. Well, good evening as well. So this shouldn't take too much longer now to load in. That's one of the problems, isn't it, with the sim. I've also picked 2 big airports, so Charles de Gaulle, massive scenery there, and that's going to get perhaps even bigger following the France update in a few weeks' time. And then, of course, we're going into land at London Heathrow. So for anyone that's joining us a little bit late, we're just loading in, brand new, released about half an hour ago, the Megapack Airbus A330-300. This is a first look flight, so you're seeing this for the first time with me. I haven't had any exclusive pre-downloaded it exactly like the rest of you can do now. So if it goes wrong together, doesn't it? I'll take my cue from you and vice versa. But I'm looking forward to this. It's exciting, just because I have no idea what's going to happen. Danny, not that many streamers flying to or from Paris. Oh, well, first time for everything. Where did we go today? We did Tokyo today, didn't we? Right, here we go. So we'll just let the sim have a moment. And there we go. There's our first look. I can tell the PC's just honking away with those frame rates, but that looks, on the outside of it, that looks like a beautiful model. Great reflections all built in. So I guess the next step would be to actually go in and have a look, isn't it? Although I do like these little cinematic views that Flight Sim gives at the start, so don't mind letting that play just for a moment. Blizzard Ghost, thank you very much. Okay, so the catering truck, or whatever that is just parked on the grass out of the way. That's very kind of him. Ready to fly. Here we go. So here we are. This is our first look at the flight deck of the A330. As I say, we're spawning in cold and dark. And let me just get my bearings here. So our departure runway that we were going to take off from is it's actually just there, straight in front of us. So let's hope the pushback helper tool works as well. This doesn't look like the greatest parking spot for an A330, I must say. Making our passengers walk a hell of a long way. I think we're on the cargo ramp. Never mind. Never mind. So what I am expecting from its performance is the engines not to be anywhere near as nippy as the A320's engines. Obviously the aircraft is a lot heavier. So let's go ahead. Batteries. And we'll get some external power kicking in as well. When you've been used to flying the A320 for so long, suddenly everything looks very, very different. I don't know if those V-speeds are accurate. They look very close to the A320's V-speeds. That may be right. I'm cheating with my barometer, and I'm setting that. So first of all, can we turn up brightness of the panels? Let's have a quick look at that. So that appears to work. We can't turn up any of the other brightness of the panels, but never mind. We can read those nice and clearly. So we've got do, menu, data, aircraft status. So that just shows the latest AirX title, and that, to be fair, even though that is out of date, that is the one that is loaded in the simulator at the moment. So that's absolutely fine. Alright, so if I now come to the init page, I've not got the alternate coded in there. Let's have a look at the flight plan. Echo Golf Fox Fox. Where's that? Is that Cardiff? Oh, Simbrief, you've let me down here. I would have much preferred Manchester. Echo Golf Fox Fox. We'll key it in anyway. There we go. And that is the correct flight level and pretty much the correct temperature as well from the operational flight plan that was created by Simbrief. So it's pulled those in quite nicely. Cost index of 100. I think that's the default. I'm going to reduce that. I don't know if it'll make a difference. I might play with that anyway. But a cost index of 18. So let's have a look at the flight plan then. So if I just bring this over for you guys to see, here's our flight plan. In fact, can I do this the way I normally do in the A320? There we go. So if I bring that up, hopefully you guys can see that. If I can just check that. Yeah. Alright, so we're departing from runway 9 right, so let's go in and key that in. Departure runway 9 right, and it is it's the Opel 4 Golf departure that we're going to do. Scroll down. There we go, the Opel 4 Golf. Let's code that in. Insert. And then at the other end, at London Heathrow, it is the Also 1 Hotel for runway 9 left. So let's get that in. Arrival, runway ILS 9 left. By the Also 1 Hotel via Bigging. I'm not entirely sure that's correct, but I do have Navigraph charts here so we can have a look at the initial approach fix for that. So I think it ends at Bigging, but then do we have an initial approach fix there? It might be via Bigging, to be fair then, looking at that. Yeah, okay, I'll leave it at Bigging and then we can check it out. So let's get that inserted. That is all done. So the flight plan, 289 miles, and on the operational flight plan it says 222 miles, so there's a bit of a discrepancy there, isn't there? Never mind. It'll do for tonight. Alright, so then let's leave that as it is. Let's have a look. Does our init B page have any function? Oh, everything's already loaded in for us, actually. Let's just have a look then at the alternate. I can't actually code anything in here. I don't think this works. I will just have a quick go. Alternate, call that 2.9 tons. 2.9 tons for the alternate. No, can't code that in. Look at that takeoff weight. I'm not used to seeing a takeoff weight that heavy. Block fuel, 53.4 tons. So I'm going to have to go back and use the Microsoft weight balancing, aren't I? Block fuel there is 9.8. So if I set that to so fuel, yeah, I don't want 53 tons of fuel. So let's look at, the reason I'm doing this, I've used the default A330-300 aircraft profile on Simbrief, so we're going to see how that actually matches up and see what the fuel burn is like. So we've set that up with a fuel weight there of 10.6. Can I get that any closer? 9.6. 9.6, because you can't actually type these in, another bug that I didn't like. So 9.6, that's close enough. And what was the payload? I've just disregarded that. Where's that gone? So payload of 34.2 tons, so 34,000 kilograms. Let's load that up then. And again, another reason why I prefer the way that fly-by-wire now loads it in, bypassing the screen altogether. That'll do. That's close enough. All right. So we're just in the centre of gravity lines there. That could be an interesting takeoff. Bad loading. Do you know what? I'll see if I can just adjust that a little bit. Or should we leave it? Technically we're in the limits. So 18.4. I need to just make a quick note of that somewhere so I can make sure the trim wheel is configured correctly before takeoff. Where's my pen? 18.4 for the centre of gravity, and we'll do that in a moment. Alright, so that's all the passengers, payload and all that stuff loaded in. Next thing then, now we put those weights in, will the flight and everything work with self-loading cargo? I don't see why it shouldn't, so let's just have a quick look and see what happens there if we start the flight, so we can get some self-loading cargo passengers on board as well. For those that are brave enough to dare a test flight. That's my pushback helper just coming on.
Cabin crew, yeah, we've completed the checks, so now you can open the doors and start getting the passengers on board.
Alright, so with that, let's see, we're connected. Let's get our main doors open. And we get a little alarm there on the ECAM telling us that our door's open. Can we cancel that? Yes, we can. Master caution. That comes off. Very nice. So the passengers are now starting to board on. We can hear those. Okay, let's just go through our cockpit prep up here. Seeing what works, what doesn't work. The days are already aligned by default. Let's turn the nav lights on. We can get the seatbelt signs on now that fuel's sorted. And no smoking signs on as well. Only one position for that. The standby emergency signs don't yet work. Let's turn on the fuel pumps. And we can also start that APU. So let's get that started. 3 seconds delay between the master and the start button. There that goes. So once that's sorted, we'll get some bleed air in the cabin as well. Wonder how my custom views look. Have they? Yeah, they don't work, so I don't have custom views set up for this. We'll just have to go to the old-fashioned way of viewing it. But what a nice-looking aircraft! Really, really nice. I do like the way the A330 looks anyway. And I don't know if they're bringing out. Are they bringing out, or have they brought out the A330 Neo? I think that's in the pipeline. We can just hear a little bit of that APU starting to fire up. HD, thanks very much, mate. Have a great evening, and I'll speak to you soon. So Adrian, the boarding mod, if anyone's not come across that, there's a little mod called self-loading cargo. It is payware, but I think it's only about £12. Well worth getting. Very well worth getting. Alright, so we'll let them get on with that. The APU is already available. That was nice and quick. So we'll turn the APU bleed on. Get some air into the cabin. Can I change the barrel reference? I can, but I haven't actually got any reference. I would have to align that. Let's just go B, and that sets that back to being by default. Okay, so finally then, let's have a quick look at our performance. Now, I have no idea how this aircraft takes off. I'm going to go with flaps 1 for our performance. In fact, did we finish the init B page? I can't remember. Yes, we did. That's all sorted. So, performance, we'll go flaps 1 for takeoff. Flex temp is by default 20. I'm not messing around with the flex temp takeoff. This is going to be a this is going to be toga. Alright, let's calculate V speeds. 168, 167, 161. So for those of you that are familiar with watching me fly the A320, you'll notice they are of course much, much higher. So let's have a look at those when they go out. Alright, so passengers are all getting loaded. Let's turn on the flight directors. Flight directors are both linked as well, so as you turn on one, the second one turns on as well. One of the other things this doesn't have, that the fly-by-wire does have, which is great, however I disable it, is it doesn't have independent screens. So you can't have different things showing. As you can see, as I'm turning one, it's turning the other. I'm just going to check that flight plan there. I saw something I really did not like. So let's have a look at that as we depart out. What on earth is that? That's not the aircraft, of course. That's us. Let's delete that waypoint, shall we? Pale, if we can. So if I now clear that out, will it allow us to clear that out? Apparently it has done. So insert. There we go. I'm not going to get too bogged down in charts and things like that today, guys. I just want to push back after the cockpit prep has now been done, and we'll get going. See what happens. All right, so let's have a look. Self-loading cargo. You need to be much quicker. So let's instantly board all the passengers. There we go. Everyone is now boarded because we've just forced them to. Get that out of the way. We can now shut the doors. Okay, so let's get ready to push back. I think the cabin crew will come through in a minute and say that they're ready.
Hi Captain, all passengers are on board and doors have been closed.
Thank you.
Alright, so this is our departure. Basically we're just going to take off, turn left. Direct Payload, which is actually the waypoint that we just deleted, wasn't it? So we'll be taking off and turning left, but never mind. It will be to the waypoint after Payload, which, looking at this, will be something like Abnur. Alright, so everything is now set. We're ready to call our pushback tug. Do we have one today, or is it one of these phantom pushback tugs? Oh no, we do have one, so the pushback tug can come along. There he is. Looking forward to him pushing this mighty aircraft back. And we'll just get the cabin crew to arm the doors, cross-check.
Cabin crew, please arm doors and cross-check.
And then we'll also welcome you guys, our wonderful passengers, on board this first look flight of the A330.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to you all from the flight deck, and thank you for choosing to fly with Easyjet today.
Ignore that, we're not Easyjet.
Very soon, and we're not expecting any delays to today's flight. The ground and cabin crew are just finishing prepping the aircraft for departure, and then we'll be ready to push back and have you on your way. As always, please give the cabin crew your full attention during their safety briefing. Thank you, and we hope you enjoyed today's flight.
Okay, let's get the rotating beacon light on. We're all ready to start our pushback now. We don't get any sort of ECAM messages in there regarding nose wheels and things like that. So with that, then let's start getting ready to push back. So tug is connected. Let's release those parking brakes, and back we go. Nice steady pushback, as it's quite a tight area, this parking stand that I've selected. Whilst we're pushing back, then let's engine mode selector, ignition, and starting engine 1. I don't know if it should be engine 1 or 2 on the A330s. I'm not familiar with the systems. We best have a look outside to see how this pushback's going to go, haven't we? So engine 1 is starting, as we can see.
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the crew I ask that you please direct your attention to the monitors as we review the emergency procedures. There are 6 emergency exits on the aircraft. Take a minute to locate the one closest to you and note that it may be behind you. Count the number of rows to the exit. Should the cabin experience pressure loss, stay calm and listen for instructions from the cabin crew. Oxygen masks will drop down from above your seat. Place the mask over your mouth and nose like this, and pull the strap to tighten it. If you are traveling with children, make sure you put your own mask on first before helping others. In the unlikely event of an emergency landing and evacuation, leave your carry-on luggage and items behind.
Farron, we'll have a look at
Aircraft
some
are located
views while
below
flying,
the
mate, see
seats,
what we
and
can
emergency
see
lighting on
there.
the floors will lead you to the closest exit. We ask that you make sure that all carry-on luggage is
Oh, this
stored
tug
away
driver's
safely
doing a
during the
decent enough
flight.
job, isn't he, to get us
While
on
we
that
wait
centre
for
line.
takeoff, please take a moment to review the safety procedures on the card in the
Okay,
package in
engine
front
1
of you.
stabilised, engine
for
starting
your
engine
attention
2. I don't know what the
and enjoy the
stabilisation
flight.
N1 should be of the A330. That's looking very A320ish. They could be the same, of course, so don't quote me on that. Well done, Mr. Tug Driver. Getting us bang on the line. He's had practice at that, hasn't he? All the cargo aircraft that go through Charles de Gaulle. Okay, let's stop the pushback there. And set our parking brakes. Wait for engine 2 to stabilise. I think we've got to remember, guys, is so many of us are so used to the detail that fly-by-wire have thrown into their A320 that you've got to sort of compare this back with the vanilla, the default A320 from Azobo. We really have been spoiled by the fly-by-wire, guys. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how this thing handles. Anyone at the other end that is expecting a butter landing, I can tell you now, it could be bumpy. Fire engine required bumpy. Alright, so engine 2 stabilised. Alright, so let's get that engine mode select back to norm. We can now turn the APU bleeds off. With all that done, let's set our ground spoilers. We don't need any anti-ice, anything like that. Flaps 1 for takeoff. There's a nice flap sound coming through there. Don't know if you guys heard that. Great flap sound coming off there. And this rudder trim then. So 18.4 was the centre of gravity. Let's have a look at how the trim wheel is. Now, has this been updated? It looks like it has, actually. So, wow, we're going to have to set that quite a way. There we go. So that is within the lines. Centre of gravity 18.4. Never would it be so far on the A320. Good stuff. Alright, so tug driver, we're clear to disconnect. Off you go. Where is he? He needs to get out of the way before I start rolling over him. So the after start checklist, we don't need anti-ice. Ecam status is checked and clear. Pitch trim, check that pitch trim is 0. Sorry, rudder trim. Rudder trim is 0 and the pitch trim we've just said 18.4. We've popped that in. Okay, so before we go any further, let's have a look at our flight controls check. If I move the side stick, does the ECAM change? No, it doesn't. Flight control pages. Okay, so if we just have a quick look at these then. We've got engines, yeah, so at the moment these are inoperable. So, never mind. Right, so let me just bear with me 1 second. And I don't know who YGB Kingdom is, but I'm fed up listening to you, so off you go. Bye-bye. I think we're about ready to go. Taxi light on. What I will do in order to do the flight check then, let's have a look. We'll have to do it visually. Get the little guy with the walkie-talkie stuck at the back of the aircraft. So there's the ailerons, and as you can see, they actually move really quickly. You wouldn't be able to move them that quickly in the real world. They'd be a little bit steadier. And there's the horizontal stabilizer, and let's have a look at our rudder. There we go. I love the way the reflections move as we do that as well. Okay. Alright, let's release those parking brakes. And we're on our way. We've got our taxi light on? I believe so. Yes, yes we do. Okay, let's go, shall we? Parking brakes released. A little bit of thrust. So I wonder how this taxi is compared to the A320. I could already feel it is much heavier. Much heavier. One thing I am noticing, I don't know if you guys can see it in the stream, I've not noticed it before, and I have no idea if it's anything to do with my settings. Certainly wasn't like this earlier, but the focal distance in the distance seems to be rather blurred. Don't think that's anything to do with the aircraft, but I thought I'd point it out just in case anyone else is having some similar issues. Ferran Ecam screens are not fully operational, no. So I'm just going to have a quick look at the cameras. So pilot, we've got the close, we've got the landing. We'll leave it at that. Steve, yep, take out your A320 fly-by-wire mod if you have that. Is that a bump in the taxiway? Yep, look at that. Did you see that? Little bump in the taxiway there. Not quite sure how accurate that is for Charles de Gaulle either. Copper Mine the Blur is just a bug in World Update 3. Do you know what? The only reason I called it out is because I've not seen it before, and I don't know if you guys can tell now. Now I'm in the external view. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that at all. So, Paul, first impressions on the 330, I'm afraid I can't give them yet. So far it's been a standard setup, very, very easy to set up, a bit like the default A320 that we're all used to. So let's get this rolling up to the stop bars, and then we'll have a little look at making sure we're fully configured for takeoff. Nick, good point, thanks very much. I will miss quite a bit of the chat just while I'm concentrating on this. It is a new aircraft. I want to give it I want to do it justice. So let's just roll the aircraft to the stop bars and we'll get ready to take off in a moment. I had the Tiger, they've just posted the blur will be fixed in an hour. Oh, great stuff. Well, that's absolutely fine. I thought I'd had too much bud. Okay, right, so whilst we're here, let's just take, we've already done the flight controls, so let's have a look. We turn on the weather radar, that comes on. There's not actually a cloud in the sky, so we're not going to show anything. Predictive wind shear, that can't come on just yet. Auto brake to max. And can we ding the cabin crew? No, don't ding the cabin crew, but we best let the self-loading cargo cabin crew know that we're about to take off, hadn't we? So tell them to get their seats for takeoff.
Cabin crew, if you could take your seats for takeoff.
We don't need terrain on the navigation display, however, that does work. So do you know what? We'll pop that on just because we haven't got any clouds in the sky to have a look at. Alright, let's go with the TO config, see what happens. Okay, so TO config is inoperable, so we can't do takeoff checklist, no blue. So we've done the flight controls, the briefing, takeoff, turn left. Flap setting config 1, FMA takeoff data is 131 blue, 168 magenta, climb nav blue, 10,000 blue, and flight directors 1 and 2 both on. We're doing a toga takeoff, so there'll be no flex temp, anything to worry about for that. So let's get our transponder on. The TCAS is turned on and tilt above, and we don't need the anti-ice, but we turn packs off for departure, or we would turn packs off for departure, but we can't. Okay, let's get the lights on. So strobe lights, runway turn-off lights, landing lights, and takeoff lights on the nose. Let's just have a look at I'll have a look at them, see what it looks like. Very nice. I might check this out in the night time as well when we land at Heathrow. Okay, so let's roll, shall we? Fly Guide, thank you very, very much. Yeah, that was amazing to wake up the other morning and see over 7,000 subscribers to the channel. So that really is fantastic. Thanks to each and every one of you. And if you are new to the channel, checking us out for the first time this evening, normally we're flying real life flights on the A320 using obviously the custom fly-by-wire mod. But today, something a little bit different. So here's runway 09 right. We'll line up and get ready for takeoff. Cabin is secured, engine mode select norm, TCAS is TARA, tilt above, packs we can't turn those off, and anti-ice is off. Alright, so let's get ready to roll, shall we? So I'm going to apply the same inputs that I do on the A320 for this. So side stick half forward, start the chrono. We can't start the chrono. Can we start the chrono over here? We can't start that chrono either. Okay, so no chrono, never mind. Alright, here we go. So set 50% N1. Let's hope we get off the ground, yeah? 50% N1 and toga, man toga, no SRS displayed, and runway. Auto thrust blue. Just pulling that side stick back now.
100 knots.
Passing 100 knots. And the aircraft there, that is starting to lift without any input from me. I didn't put that input in. So that took off without me. So gear up, we've just passed S speed. Well, that happened quickly. Let's raise that nose, shall we? Otherwise we're going to bust that speed limit. So flaps 0, spoilers disarmed. And I'm not going to engage the autopilot because just look at where that flight director was taking us. It was taking us hard over to the right. I'm now just bringing that back in line. So the speed tape has just cleared up. So this should target 250 knots. It is not doing, so getting overspeed. Let me lift that nose right up. Climb thrust. There we go. We were getting an overspeed warning there, however that did not show on the tape. So now we're at climb thrust, just lower that nose a little bit to maintain 250 knots. And we can start to make a slight left bank, bring those flight directors back in line. Don't want to bank too much. There we go, we'll just hold that there. And the beautiful countryside of France below us. You can hear the self-loading cargo passengers screaming. They don't like excessive bank rates. Clink 123, you are right. We have a very, very light aircraft.
Ladies and gentlemen, you may now use your electronic devices. Rechargeable battery packs are available for your smartphones and tablets at an additional Super Chats or Super Sticker cost. Please ask your cabin crew for more information.
Okay, so we've just broken through 10,000 feet. That's fine. I don't mind doing that on a test flight. So now let's just try out the autopilot, shall we? Let's set to flight level 260 blue, and autopilot 1 engaged. Okay, so let's just see how this flies for a moment. We're past 10,000 feet. Let's get those landing lights off. Slight excessive pitch in the takeoff there. We were up nearly, I think it was about 20 degrees, and that's just my fault because I'm not used to flying this aircraft. But from what I can see, autopilot seems to be working exactly as it should be doing. Passing flight level 130. Can we check the performance page then? The progress page? There's not enough on there to actually help us. So let's just get the airports on there. Alright, let's release our cabin crew. adjusting the seatbelts a couple of times.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has turned off the seatbelt sign.
Ah, right, okay. So the A330, unlike the fly-by-wire mod, the seatbelt sign actually links in with self-loading cargo. It does not in the fly-by-wire A330.
Please fasten your seatbelts as soon as possible. Thank you.
So that's quite interesting. That's very interesting. So what I do there with the seatbelt signs then automatically happens in self-loading cargo. As I say, unlike what happens in the fly-by-wire. So that's quite neat. That's quite neat. So we are very light, which means we're shooting up nice and quick, 4,400 feet per minute. However, it's not excessive. You look at our pitch. We're only about 6-7 degrees nose pitched up. Very nice. So whilst that then just continues to fly, let's just set standard pressure as well for come here, let's get the proper one. There we are. Set standard pressure on there. Philippe, your dad threw the A330. Oh, well, he can tell me how to fly it then, because I'm an A320 guy. I'm not used to flying something this big or heavy. That said, we're not very heavy, are we? What is our gross weight? Oh, well, no. Compared to the A320, we are very heavy. 161 tons heavy. Reese, this is the A330 300 model. So whilst this just continues then to continues to climb out, let's have a look at the views that that it comes with. So let me just go to my camera views. So the external views, of course, we know, and the showcase views, we obviously have the drone camera. Just look at the fixed camera angles. So there's the tail cam, obviously the wing cam. I don't believe this has got wing flex yet, unless I've misread that somewhere. Those really long wings, the A330. And of course the passenger camera views, the internal cameras will be right down at the bottom, won't they? So, right, okay, so what have we got? We've got, if that's right, we've got a left-hand view just there over the wing, no window frame, and an external view, as you can see, built up just there as well. Christian, yeah, easy 3-4 off mic heavy. Yeah, well, MFS pilot, if you qualify to fly the A320, that also gives you qualification for the 318, 319, 320 obviously, and the 321. A330 does need a different license. So let's just zip back into the flight deck to see how we're doing with our climb. Alright, so what was our actual cruising altitude for this flight plan? It wasn't very high. In fact, we may have even just gone above it. So it was actually flight level 240. So let's just see how it handles then. In fact, you know what? Let's push. It is a test flight after all. Let's get it up to 290 and then let's drop it down. All in manage mode. Let's see what happens in manage mode. Because we know that we use vertical descent rate, vertical speed, quite a bit of the time in the A320, just because it doesn't always like manage mode, and open descent tends to drop you a little bit too quick. So engine spooling up nicely there as we start to climb. So once I've got to flight level 290, I shall drop it back down to flight level 240. I just want to see how well the aircraft works. I also need to start having a look at, okay, so now just pulling down at 290, that's fine. Let's have a look at these charts then for our approach into London Heathrow and plan this. So we want to be 7,000 feet at Biggin. So if we're at 2,400 feet, we don't have the top of descent calculator, which many of us have started to enjoy here in the A320 flight deck from fly-by-wire, so we'll have to do it old school way. So if we're at flight level 240, we need to descend down to flight level 70. So we need to lose 17,000 feet, which means that we want to start our top of descent at about, given the speed as well, we want to start the top of descent probably about 60 miles away. 60 miles away from Biggin, and then from Biggin we should just get the loop which takes us around and onto the ILS for runway 09 left. There's the information for runway 09 left. So let me just get rid of that, and what I will do whilst we're cruising along quite nicely, it is a test flight, so I think we should serve you some alcoholic beverages.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are about to serve a selection of alcoholic drinks including wine and locally sourced ales. Please make sure your tray table is in the down position and clear any items from the aisle. This is a paid-for service, so please consider tipping the cabin crew and the channel using stickers or super chats. Thank you.
Okay, so as you can see, that actually flies in exactly as I would expect it to. Over the Biggin VOR, we then start to slow down. There's the decel point, and it just brings us around to come in and land on runway 9 left. Excellent, so the flight plan is all coded in nicely for that. Looking forward to that. And you guys are all being served now by our wonderful cabin crew. So only a very short flight, but that's fine. That's all we wanted for a test flight. There's the English Channel coming up now. Let's see what happens then, so I can see how we're going to gauge this descent. So I'm going to set flight level 240 here, and use selected. Use the selected mode. Use the managed mode. So flight level 240 and engage managed mode. So let's engage that. 240 blue, and let's just see how it deals with this descent. So speed, descent, and nav. I want to see how fast this starts to drop. So 2000, 2300, 2400, 2005, 2006. Yeah, so really that's pretty similar to the A320 and the fly-by-wire version of the A320 as well. So not too much difference there. I don't want to be descending at that rate when we're actually making our descent into London. I want that to be a little bit more controlled, but I'm going to let that play out for now. Interestingly enough, if we go into open descent, so now just double check open descent on there. It may start to raise it a little bit. With open descent, the idea is it targets the speed, so that it uses the pitch to target the speed that it's got set. But yeah, that's still dropping too fast for me when planning my rule of 3 descent, but never mind. We'll use that in a moment. So how far away are we from Biggin? So there's Biggin. We're just coming up to 80 miles away. So guys, we've probably got about 5 minutes before I start that top of descent and start prepping for that. Has anyone got any questions? I appreciate I have been ignoring the chat an awful lot. I promise I don't normally when we're doing live streams. Normally I very interactive with you guys, but I have been concentrating on how this aircraft flies. So if anyone does have any questions, then please do ask them now. And I know the great members of the channel, Nick, Chumi, Ferran, Christian, etc. also have been helping me along answering questions that you guys might have got. So this is the brand new Airbus A330-300 from Megapack, available as of about an hour ago. Hour and 20 minutes ago it was released. This is our first flight, first look. And it is free. Must remember that, guys. It is free. Not only does it come with the obviously the base A330, but there is also an entire host of liveries that you can download for this as well. And Lewis, Barley, yeah, this is it. This is absolutely amazing for freeware. Lewis Aviation, of course, there will be a normal stream tomorrow. Back in my A320 and back in the comfort of the Easyjet flight deck. MC3 will be using the replay mod to see and approach when we land. Yes, of course. We'll pop that on and we'll have a look at how that looks from the passenger's perspective and, of course, from the ground as well. So, look forward to that. Paul, I believe there is a Qantas livery for this aircraft as well, yes. If we did our long-haul Monday flights in this, with that delivery flight from Hamburg to Australia, we could have probably done it in 2 weeks rather than 4. Dark Fury, is that window fix just being posted? Oh, well, it's too late for me now, but that's great to know. See how quickly these guys are turning things around. These developers are doing it all for free as well, remember, which is absolutely amazing. So do me a favour, guys, just whilst we're in this little cruise stage of the flight, and it is a very small cruise stage of the flight, just do me a favour and hit that like button. It's free. It just helps give the channel a little bit of recommendation as well on YouTube as well. So if you can do me that big favour, I would be very grateful to all of you whilst we're flying along, and we'll be approaching London Heathrow very, very soon. Just excuse me 1 minute, I just need to go and refill my drink before landing. I'm just popping back to the galley. I will be back with you in 60 seconds. Alright guys, I am back with you. Sorry about that. Thirsty work. All this talking. Right, where are we? So, we are... I said I want to start that descent probably about 60 miles from Biggin, didn't I? Biggin, as you can see on the navigation display now, we're probably about 70 miles, so we'll get ready to start descending. We'll let our passengers know as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the flight deck, you may notice we've begun our descent into our destination. We're not expecting any further delays or traffic in front of us in the next few minutes, so can you do assist the cabin please by tidying your trays, handling the back, and putting any litter in the bags provided. For safety reasons, please turn off all electronic devices and switch them to airplane mode until we have landed. Please also note that the aircraft toilets will shortly go out of use. Thank you.
Alright, so... I just saw someone asking why the windows were so blurry. Yeah, same here. They've just released a hot fix. Hot fix number 1 is not bad, is it? A hot fix about an hour after the release. So, I don't blame them for that. I say, well done. Something's wrong and you can turn a fix around that quickly, then you're okay in my book. Alright, so we're now 60 miles from Biggin. I'm going to start that descent. What's our tailwind doing? 23 knots, so not massive. So I'm going to descend. We want to start descending down to flight level 070, and I'm going to set that descent rate of about 1600 feet per minute, and we also want to start slowing that aircraft down to around 270 knots as well. So down we go. Lewis, if someone hasn't put the link in this chat already, I can't do it for you right now, not while I'm flying, but I will put a link in the video description at the end of the stream. So down we go, and if we have a look at that, the aircraft is controlling that quite nicely. So thrust idle, vertical speed of minus 1,600 feet per minute. Dabney, is a tailwind of 23 knots was considered a high tailwind? Oh, at this altitude you could have a tailwind of 60, 70. We've seen altitudes of tailwinds of like 100 knots. Okay guys, right, this is where I need a big favour from you. That's if we can pop this in. Now, because I can't get the live meta for London Heathrow here to plonk into the performance page, can someone nip and give me the live meta from London Heathrow, please? That's a challenge for you. Go and grab me the meta from London Heathrow, just while I grab a couple more details from here. It's got to be live meta, so the latest one we can get, please. Minimum descent altitude is 279. Let's key that in. 279. What's the transition altitude here at London Heathrow? 6,000 feet. That's already keyed in for me. And a VAP speed of 251. That can't be right. That's very fast. So we may have to make our own up with that. Chumi and Nick, thank you very much, guys. So 070 at 6. 070 at 6. And temperature is 3. Current QNH is 1030. 1030. Thank you very much. And you guys have come to the rescue. Okay, so as you can see there, the VAP speed 250 knots. That cannot be right. That is far too fast. We'd end up busting through Buckingham Palace's walls if we tried to land at that speed. Alright, so yeah, I don't know if you guys can see that. It does look a little blurry down there. See, that's what happens. That's what happens if before powering up the aircraft you don't check that your windscreen wipers are not turned on, and the windscreen wipers start flapping around when you power up the aircraft and it's not raining. It scratches the windscreens and you can't see out of it properly. That is a very, very expensive mistake. Don't make that. Captain Campbell, so what is VAP? VAP is the approach speed, your final approach speed. 250 knots is far too fast, and I'll be honest with you, I fly the A320. I don't even know what a normal approach speed for the I don't even know what the approach speed for A330 is. However, just looking at the flaps, the flap limits, we're very, very light as well. So what I'm going to do is let's go 160. Change that final approach speed. So the auto thrust should target 160 as we start to approach. 40 miles away from Biggin. Olivia Wall, my teacher gave me this link. You don't even know what half of us are saying. Subscribe to the channel and I promise you will learn. You'll get an education. We've got so many that are homeschooling at the moment that subscribe to the channel, because we literally do streams every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday throughout the day, and then usually on a Thursday evening as well, and the weekend evenings. They say they've just got us on in the background while doing their homeschooling, which I probably shouldn't encourage, by the way, but they learn a hell of a lot. Hassan, have I noticed the aircraft struggles to turn at low speeds? Not yet. I might do soon. I might do as we come into London. Chris, why do I enter the decision height into the minimum descent altitude? Okay, 2 reasons. The minimum descent altitude is used for all your approaches except when you're doing a full auto land. Decision height is only used for full auto lands. So that's why I'm most certainly not doing a full auto land in this. I will be flying the approach in manually. Mad Dog, is Easyjet the European equivalent of Ryanair? They're not the equivalent, they're the rival of Ryanair and Easyjet. Lewis, I've not dropped that link on our Discord just yet. but we will. In fact, I don't know if Nick or Jimmy or anyone else on there, Christian, if you have got the link, could you drop that on our Discord as well so people can enjoy this aircraft that we're showcasing here? Okay, so let's start rolling the speed back to 250 knots. Yes, I'm rolling it back to 250 knots. This is the speed that the aircraft actually told us we wanted to land at. So for anyone flying, make sure you edit your VAP speed, otherwise you're just going to overshoot every runway you try and land on. So well worth noting. Okay, so we've got the weather and the landing information. The flight management guidance computer is all programmed. I'm just going to check the RadNav page. ILS 09 left, 110.3, and we can just check that on the charts, make sure that's been populated correctly. 110.3, perfect, that's nice. So it's pulling that in nicely. Something else which we know we've had issues with in the past. Landing elevation as well, we need to know that landing elevation is 79 feet. We'll leave the radar on. In fact, let me just turn off the ground radar for a second. And there we go, the weather radar is working as well. So I don't know if you guys can see, I'm just dropping a few frame rates at the moment, and that'll be because we're approaching London. I tell you what though, what a nice looking model. What a really nice looking model. I've seen several people say it's a shame they couldn't sort of like team up with the fly-by-wire just for the flight deck integration. Obviously the aerodynamics and the config of that is going to be different. Much heavier aircraft. But I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing lands. Okay, so I'm really going to start rolling that speed back now. I will use some speed brakes as well if need be. Have we got any speed restrictions actually in this? Yeah, 220 knots, thought so. So rolling that back to 220 knots. Let's get the spoilers out then. Let's have a look, see those spoilers coming up. There we go, spoilers are up. In fact, those spoilers I think may work a little bit too well. We can now hear the engines fighting those spoilers, so we'll retract those. Gordon, you say it's a bit too white. Well, you know, that's good. It reflects the heat. That's what airlines like. That's why the Pepsi-coloured Concorde didn't last very long. Alexander, the landing gear is from the 747. Oh, you mean the actual landing gear? Oh, well, fair enough. We're not going to have any problems with them doing that. So, passing 10,000 feet, let's get the lights on. Let's get the seatbelt signs on. In fact, the seatbelt signs are still on. I never took them off. There we go. So let's run the approach checklist. So the minimums are set both sides. Engine mode select is norm, and if we had an electronic flight bag, it would be over here and stowed. So the platform altitude coming in to London Heathrow on this runway 9 left is 2,500 feet. I'm just having a look, see what constraints we've got here. So I've got us at 7,000 feet, so really rather close, so I'm going to ignore that constraint. Let's turn on the landing system. Are we close enough to pick that up just yet? Maybe not. We're still at 9,000 feet and 30 odd miles away, but that'll populate in a moment. Or at least I hope it will. Otherwise we'll be landing visual. So about to pass Biggin, and look at that, we're what, 7 miles away and 8,400 feet. That top of descent, quick calculation worked, didn't it? So the installation of this file works exactly like the installation of any other mod. You just drop the folder into the community folder of your flight simulator. Mad Dog, is there any plans for the A330 Neo variant? I have absolutely no idea, I'm afraid. So make sure you stick with me, guys, for the landing. And as I say, we will also record the landing and do an instant replay of that from some different camera angles just to see the stream out. Okay, so let's just pretend air traffic control tells us now to descend to send altitude 5,000 feet, which we can start to do. We don't need to do too quickly either, so I'm going to do that in open climb. And as we're targeting 220 knots, the aircraft shouldn't descend too quickly. Yeah, so you guys should be able to see out there that it doesn't look that clear, does it? All the windows do look a little bit out of focus. And there we go. The ILS information is now populated. So there we go. 20.8 miles away. That's not 20.8 miles to run, however. We've still got to go 20 miles forward, and then probably about 10-15 miles the opposite direction, turn around, come back and land. So guys, I hope you're all enjoying this, and thank you to those of you that have hit the like button on the stream. If you haven't and you're still here, please do consider doing that, just to give us some likes on YouTube. That would be great if you could. Thank you very much. And if you are new to the channel, then why not consider hitting the subscribe channel and turn those notifications on for our next live stream. If you are new to the channel, tell you a little bit about it. Basically, we fly EasyJet flights all over Europe using EasyJet SOPs. We do real world op flights, and they're not quite as ad hoc as this. This is purely a test flight, so we've been not playing everything by the rules, but normally we fly correctly. So just watching how those engines are spooling up there. We're going to pass over the decel point in a minute, and I'm going to let it do that on its own to see if the aircraft automatically enters the approach phase. So looking forward to that. Captain B, looking forward to moving to the first officer seat when it frees up. Well, you know, you can join the EasyJet Flight Sim channel now and become a member, and you can be first officer, captain, or training captain. So check those out for me whilst you're here, guys. Become a member of the channel, support the stream. That'd be great if you would. And thank you to all of you that just hit the like button. I've just seen that shoot up, so that's really incredible. Thank you to all of you for that. And we recently passed 7,000 subscribers, which for a channel that only started in September is unbelievable. So thanks to each and every one of you for that. Richard, yes, 1st of March. Time flies when we get time flies when we're doing absolutely naff all for 12 months. Dark Fury, you've just had the constraints pop up stopping your descent. That should only happen in managed mode. Chewie, so you tell me I can expect the ground proximity call out. Right, okay. Well, never mind. I can be aware of that. Are you ground proximity warning call out, Chewie? Are you confusing the ground proximity warning call out with the radio altimeter? The numbers down here. Ground proximity warning shouldn't call out when you're landing. Those call outs should be inhibited. However, the radio altimeter should be accurate, and they're the numbers that you get down here at the bottom of the operation, at the bottom of the primary flight display. Dave Hudson, good evening, or good morning to you. Paul, here's to the next 7,000. Wow, thank you very much. That'd be great if we got that far, wouldn't it? So, London Heathrow then should be just over to our right. Where is it? There it is. We're going to come round for a landing. Runway 9 left. No, it's partly. I think you make a great point there. This is an absolutely great plane when you compare it to the 737 that was just released and cost €22. I've heard nothing but bad things about that. I didn't even attempt to want to sort of review and preview that, just because, one, it's a Boeing, which I know very little about flying, and I feel much more comfortable with the Airbus. I know much more about Airbus and how they fly, and that's why I would consider doing this tonight. Flying the A320's bigger brother. Alright, so let's see, have we entered the approach phase automatically? Go to the progress page. Not the progress page, you numpty. The performance page. Yes, we have. Okay, so now we can start slowing down. Enter managed mode for the speed. Uh-oh, that's not right. Let's pull that. Right, okay. That may be bugged. Alright, so that should be targeting green dot speed. I'm yet to see a green dot on the actual speed tape here. That might not work. We're definitely in the approach phase. 100% in the approach phase. And if I enter manage mode, it seems to want to target 485 knots. Right, okay. That's also magenta. Is there a speed constriction anywhere? There shouldn't be a speed constriction that high. Alright, let me roll this back. And we're going to have to roll this back manually then. So let's set 200 knots for this turn. It's Kush, where's the community folder for the simulator? Oh, my friend, you may have to do a Google search for that. You've got to buy a magnifying glass and be a little bit Sherlock Holmesy about it to discover it. Microsoft buried it. But it is there. Once you've found it, just pin it to your folders so you can access it nice and quickly. Alright, so what we're going to do now is we're going to start making this this turn onto the approach. So let's start our descent down to 3,000 feet, 3,000 blue, open descent, thrust idle. And I have no idea how any of these flaps are going to affect the aircraft. Bearing in mind we currently do have a bit of a flaps problem, don't we? So I'm going to go flaps 1 a little bit earlier than perhaps I would if I knew the aircraft at all. And yeah, it's a little bit blurred, isn't it? Right, here's that right hand turn that we're expecting. So let's go flaps 1. And now we're dropping below the altitude, the transition altitude. We can set our QNH. Oh, that's a bit of a dive. I do know why it's doing that, but it shouldn't be. What was the QNH? 1030. Okay, so just like all the other aircraft in the simulator, open descent, not great. I think we'll stick to VS speed. So that would be my advice so far. Still fly using VS speed. Nick, you're right, it is following the waypoint, so that's good. Captain B, yeah, that was the passenger screaming because of that steep dive the aircraft just popped us in a moment ago. I'm going to start rolling that speed back even more now. Actually, even though we've got flaps out, can I still enter manage mode for the speed? No. No, 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 no. Okay, so we're going to have to control the speed manually as well. Never mind. Alright, I'm going to pull the heading bug here so I can intercept the ILS manually. How far are we away? 12 miles away. Glide slope is alive. So let's go flaps 2. Rolling this back to 170 knots now. Captain B, cleaning team needed in row 5. Yeah, depending on how this landing goes, the cleaning team may need to work their way up to the flight deck. Right, the speed tape's turning yellow. Can I enter... Ah, right, okay, so I'm now entering the managed mode, and that looks like it's starting to kick in a little bit. Please don't break the maximum op speed. I've just completely missed the localizer. Whilst watching that, it's okay. We're slow enough, and we've got 10 miles to get that back on track. And Captain Turner, welcome to the captain's seat, my friend. Look forward to having you sat next to me on many more flights in the future. Okay, so 10 miles out, and let's capture the glide slope as well, shall we? Glide slope blue, lock blue. Glide slope green, lock green. This is my fault. I messed up the approach because I was fixated on the speed. However, that will bring us back in nicely. I'm going to drop that landing gear just because I'm aware of the speed tape. However, we want to be configured by about 5 miles, so we've still got plenty of time yet. I could tell my simulator was loading in data there. Could you see the frame rate's dropping around? Anthony, hello. Right, flaps 3. And what I want to do now is we'll just get the replay going. Spoilers armed, flaps full. We'll ding the cabin in a moment as well. We don't need to ding the cabin up there, do we? So let's get the turn off lights on, taxi lights on. And let's see what this touchdown will be like. So what speed is that targeting? That's actually targeting a much lower speed than I'd anticipated. But if that's what it's going to hold, without stalling, I'll take it. 110 knots seems very low. But I'm not familiar with the A330, so that could be right. Okay, so cabin, please be secured for landing. And I'm not bothered about the go-around altitude. We can leave that as it is. Go-around altitude here anyway is 3,000 feet, so that's already set. Drea, good afternoon. Hope you had a successful flight with this. Were you like me though? Were you a little bit blurry after the windshield? So I'll take over this and land it manually in a moment. So we're about 1,000 feet now, so 1,000 feet. Landing memo, I'd like to say no blue, but we don't have a landing memo just yet. Alright, so let's see what this is like compared to the A320. Yeah, exactly. I'm looking for buttons that are no longer here. Okay, autopilot off, I have control. Targeting that blurry centre line. And I can tell the PC is working hard at loading in all the extra scenery from London. I've also got all the streaming stuff running off one PC tonight. I don't normally. So 500, approach stable. Just watch those. Just watch the glide slope. So you want about 700 feet per minute, a normal 3-degree glide slope. We're holding that nicely now. Definitely is a chunkier bird to try and line up on the centre line. Over the threshold, displaced threshold. Struggling to actually get this down, to be honest with you. And on the ground at 100 knots, reverses on, 70 knots, reverses off, and yeah, I think there was a little bit of a discrepancy there between the radio altimeter and the ground, but if you know about it, you can probably account for that.
The local time is 12:21.
Okay, so we'll do a replay of that in a moment, guys. Don't go anywhere. We'll have a little look in a moment.
Celsius or 32 Fahrenheit. So if you have a jacket or coat, you might want to
I don't
put
think
it
the
on
self-loading
the front
cargo's
of the aircraft.
passengers are too happy.
Please remain seated until
Never
the
mind.
aircraft arrives at the gate. You are reminded to keep all electronic devices switched off until
Okay,
you
I'm
enter
just
the
gonna
airport terminal.
dump the aircraft there
Thank you for
and
flying
leave
Air
that.
France.
Let's just get the flaps up, get the spoilers retracted, and here we are at London Heathrow. Okay, so let me just get back in the flight deck. Let's run the replay then, shall we, and see how that looks. So just bear with me one moment while we stop that, and we'll run that again. Captain B, it wouldn't be the first time I've messed up a replay, so I'm not going to blame him for that. Let me load this. Oh, where's that gone? There we are. So just let that load. I'm also just going to shut down self-loading cargo whilst all that scenery loads in. Shut down things like Navigraph as well, which I was running all over off the same PC. That's great when you can see the blurry landscape and one of the handcrafted buildings down there. So we'll just give that another 10 seconds or so, guys, just to let that fully load. That's looking better now, isn't it? Okay, so let's hit the ready to fly button. In a moment an aeroplane should appear. Hopefully mine. Okay, so I've got the scenery. Where's the aeroplane? Ah, that's interesting. That's very interesting. Oh, there we go. And there it is. Okay, so looking down, we're actually coming in at a fairly decent pitch there. That nose up looks too much for me. That's one heck of an angle.
1000.
We'll just leave this running, see what that looks like on touchdown. And of course, now that we're out of the flight deck, we've got rid of those blurries as well. But remember guys, those blurries have now been fixed. Within an hour of the aircraft being released, they've actually already fixed that with the latest download. So that's great. Bridge Pilot 747, yeah, that angle of attack doesn't look healthy, does it?
200.
Let's listen to those call-outs when we actually touch down.
100. 60. 50. 40. 30. 20. Retard.
Actually, in fairness, that landing didn't look anywhere near as bad from the outside as it did on the inside. I prefer the replay much more than I do the view from the inside. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stop that, and there is a wing view, isn't there? So let me just stop that. Let me jump back into the just jump back into the flight deck a second. Rewind that a few seconds.
5.
Yeah, so as you look in there, that angle of attack looks nowhere near like it did from the outside. I'll not rewind this back all the way. So if we go from about there, hit play, and let's just find that camera view that they've got for us on the showcase. So we've obviously got a window view on the right hand side of the aircraft, and we've got a wing view here on the left. I'll just leave this on for now. And hopefully then as we touch down we should see some spoilers coming up as well.
500. 400.
So Drea, at the moment obviously I've just got the showcase camera. I might go back actually and just have a look at the pilot view in a moment. Obviously not set up custom views for this aircraft yet. I only got that on the 320.
200.
But we can go and do that again on another replay after this.
60. 50. 40. 30. 20.
I must admit, guys, I am surprised that see that touchdown that you just heard there. I don't know if you heard the gear crunching beneath us. Then that sounded far harsher than it actually looked. Right, so I'm just going to stop that, and then, just as Drea suggested, we're going to have a look and use the cockpit camera to get a better view. So if we can press play, there's the spoilers going down. Let's just jump back into the flight deck, and this is where you'd then set up external and custom view cameras. Which, for those of you that don't know how to do that, I'd suggest watching Drea's video on that. So, can we actually escape the cockpit? Ah, we can. Right, that's okay. That's quite nice. So, if we can escape the cockpit, let's just speed up the camera there. And yeah, so if we can just go over there, we'll zoom back a little bit. Actually, we're not moving fast enough. I wanted to move a little faster than that. It'd take a little bit of setting up, but you get the idea.
400. 300.
And have they actually, if you go inside the flight deck, have they put in? Yeah, they've got another window that you can sit, so you can get a better view, which is quite nice.
100.
So the fact that you can actually come out of the flight deck means that it's much easier to set up
40.
those cockpit cameras. You don't have to go through and reconfigure them.
20. Retard.
Yeah, that's my only complaint now I've got about this aircraft. I think that gear sound made it sound like a tragic landing. But I'll take the one that we just got. Alright guys, so what I will do is I will drop a link on the video description to get this downloaded. I think there's just absolutely no complaints for a free aircraft. We've seen all the basic systems, they work. In terms of controlling it, I think the only thing that for me I'd like to see a little bit more of is the speed control on approach. So it's, and I know they've already mentioned it, that there's no VAP speed calculations, and you're basically targeting the flap speeds as you're in the approach mode. But aside from that, I think everyone's going to enjoy flying this one. And of course, as we've just seen, you can set up your own custom views. Just kind of a quick go. Can we speed up that free look momentum there? Just to, oh, even with that, it's moving rather slowly. So if we get in there, is there a window that we can look at? Alright, so we've got a window there, and is there a second window anywhere? No, so they've just built the first one, which means if we just go over here, try and get a little bit closer to it, down a little bit, get closer to that, maybe out to the left. It's just a case of staying within the confines of the aircraft window. Oh, there we go, that'll do. Right, so if we can rewind that then. Let's have one more, shall we? And then I'm going to call it a night. It's been a long day after doing Long Haul Monday, Mileage Monday. I'm going to leave you with this this final replay then, guys. So thank you very much for joining me. If you're brand new to the channel, please do consider hitting the subscribe channel. And thank you to everyone who has liked the stream, and has, of course, those of you, a big thank you that have sent donations, either via the super chats, the super stickers, PayPal link, and of course those channel members. Big shout out to the channel members, and there's more details about that by clicking the red join button down below. Hope you've enjoyed this first look of the Megapack A330, guys. I'm going to leave you with this final replay. I shall see you again tomorrow, so hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications for our real world, real ops flights that will commence tomorrow back in the EasyJet flight deck. Good night, everyone, and I shall see you again soon. Bye bye for now.